Today we will learn recursive method in
like
Java.
this
4
in our
plus sum 3. Now this sum 3 will return 3 plus sum 2. Now this sum 2 will return 2 plus sum 1. Java. In our previous few class we have already learned how to write a Java method and how to call that. So if you check here, this is our method definitions where I have written my logic, let's say, and our method name xyz. So this defined method is calling from here, that is nothing but our main method, and from here I am trying to call this xyz method. So actually we are trying to call a method from another method, that is for our case let's say main method. Now let's check this syntax. Let's say you have a method sum and you are trying to call the same method sum under this method. So this type of technique or process is called recursion in Java, and this type of method is called recursive method. So if you take the definition, a method that call itself is called recursive method, and this process or technique is called recursion. So a method that call itself, so if you check the syntax again, so the method that is basically sum, and this sum method is call itself from or under this sum method. So if you check our two method name is same, actually we are trying to call the sum method with some value, that is basically our sum method. This is the method definitions, and we are trying to call this sum method under this sum method. So this type of method is called recursive method, and the process is called recursions. So if we take an example like this, then we can understand better. So you can see here, use recursions to add all the number up to 5. Up to 5 means if the number is 5, then we need to print the summations of 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. So how we can do that in Eclipse? Let's check that with recursive method. Now I have opened my Eclipse. So recursion sum example is my class, and this is created under a new package com.demo.recursions, and this is my main method. Now if I double click here to get a wider view, now to create our recursive method, first we have to check where our main method completed. So our main method complete or closed here. Now after that we can define our method. Now let's say create a sum method which public static int sum. Sum is our method name and parameter is int n. Then our method start here and end here. Save it using Ctrl S. Now we have to call this sum method under this sum method, right? So here we have to create a recursive call, but before that, based on our problem statement, we have to create a if statement first, and the logic will be look like this. If n greater than 0, n means the value that is basically for our case 5. So if 5 greater than 0, then under this if block we will return n, that is basically our 5 value. Then we will again try to call the sum method by decreasing n value with 1. So that's mean the second time it will call the sum method with value 5 minus 1, that is basically 4. So once it is 4, it will come again here and check is 4 greater than 0. Yes, then it will return basically n, that is 4, and again 4 plus sum 4 minus 1, that is basically sum 3. So for the sum 3 it will go again, and it will again check this one and return the n plus sum 3 minus 1. You can see here that every time I am trying to call the same method, and a recursion process going on and going on and going on till n greater than 0. Now in else part we simply return 0 value. Now save this using Ctrl S. Now our method definitions is done, and we are calling the sum method under this sum method like this way. Okay, but very initial phase we have to call the sum from main method. So here we will create our first calling with value 5. So here we can create our calling statement sum, and value as per our example is 5. Now this sum 5 actually calculate the result and finally return a integer value. So we can calculate, or we can get the calculated value, and we can create a integer variable total, and under that we can save the calculated value or store the calculated value, and finally we have to print the total value. So create a system.out.println statement, make a total message equal to, then just try to print the value that is basically calculated under this variable. Save it using Control S. Now before going to the Excel to show you how this recursion is going on, just remember this syntax. What is the return value every time? So this return value is n plus sum and under bracket n minus 1. So let's check that one in Excel. So you can see that first time we pass 5. So in our first call it is something n, that is basically 5, then plus then sum of n minus 1, that is nothing but 4. Now second time this sum minus 4, sum 4 basically return the value like this, 4 plus sum 3. Now this sum 3 will return 3 plus sum 2. Now this sum 2 will return 2 plus sum 1. Then this sum 1 will return 1 plus sum 0. Now the value we are passing as 0. So if I go to this Eclipse again, so if now my n is 0, so it will check if n greater than 0, no. So that's mean it will go for this else part, and in else part it simply return 0 instead of this type of syntax. So as I am passing some value as 0, so it will simply go to this else part and give me a return value as 0. So that's why if it's a sum 0, so it will give me a 0. So I have written here a 0 value. Now if you calculate this one, or if you check this syntax, so ultimately we are getting 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0, and then the calculated value is 15. And if our logic is correct, then it should give us the exact value, that is basically 15. So let's check that. So if you run it here again, then you can get the result 1515. So if I check with another value, let's say 10, save it using Control S, and if I run it here, so you can see that the total count is, or total value is coming as 55. So let me put it 5 as per our problem statement, but you can dynamically take a input from user and pass the value here. And finally, once you call this one from first time from this main method, so it will go here, and after that it will recursively call the sum method again and again till these conditions gets true. So this way you can create a recursive method, and this total process is called recursion.
I believe this video has helped you to understand about the topic. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe, click on the bell notifications and select all so that you don't miss any video from this channel.